Thank you to Cody for their generous donation on Patreon. If you would like to join them in their generosity, the link to my Patreon page is in the description. Hello everyone, my name is Deckerlink the Trained Unprofessional, and welcome back to Regal Tales. Haven't played this one in a while, have we? There was an update that came out. This game doesn't get as many updates. There's been some development hell associated with it, from what I've been able to tell. Oh, hold up. Yeah, I gotta change the renderer. God damn it. There, that looks way fucking better. Yeah, that's incredibly... Oh, y'all can't see it yet. There we go. It looks so much better. What the hell? Anyway, let's go ahead and load up here. Oh. Fuck. This is where we left off. Okay, so... it's been a bit... discombobulating. I had to start over from the beginning. I don't know why. I tried to also record extracurricular activities before this, but that was also having trouble with saves. So I don't know what the fuck. But I got to this point because I am not 100+ episodes deep, and I'm very reluctant to start saves over again on this. So let's see what has been updated. Also, don't mind the Band-Aid. I've gotten some medical tests done recently. My health hasn't been too great. So here's hoping it's not really bad. Alright, let's continue. Nadja awakens to find herself slumbering over a fast fold medic bed, her long arms and legs slumped over the edges. A wave of nauseating pain coursed throughout her body. She lifts her head up to find her chest, arms, and legs wrapped entirely with bandages. She groans while groggily scanning the small medical tent. She was struggling with her vision. Everything faded in and out with a discoloring blur. She manages to keep her attention focused on a notably shiny object beside her. She rubs her eyes and finally recognizes a serving table across from her, offering a platter of food and water. Nadja begins to meekly crawl towards the table. She reaches out and knocks away a serving glass and goes straight for the pitcher of water. She braced herself on the table before chugging down the pitcher, only stopping to take breaths and scarf on some bread rolls. She takes the whole platter from the table and rests it in her lap. She begins to inhale her meal with pure gusto. It felt as though she hadn't eaten in days. The hunger she bared was primal, beckoning her to devour every crumb before her, dulling her mind in the small feast. In the entirety of this, Nadja feels as though her mind was not one with her body. She ate and drank, but couldn't taste any of it. It was as though her body was possessed. Her mind attempts to recollect what she was doing, wondering how she got here in the first place. Was this a dream? Or did she wake up from one? Her body continues to consume the dish whilst she tries to remember everything that happened. She was fighting a bitter standoff with the Emperor, and then everything went black. Then everyone was gone. A blazing inferno ravaged her mind. The heat, the ash, the roaring flames engulfed her senses. The cries of her men echoed through her ear canals. The unruly shouting of her men screaming grew louder and louder past the smoldering flames. Her body began to tremble as the deafening roars drew closer to her. The sound alone snaps her out of her stupor. She drops the food dish as she realized a haunting conclusion. The yelling was coming from outside of the tent. The shocking realization snaps her back in control of her body as her fight-or-flight instincts took wind. She staggers to her feet and catches a glimpse of a window flap to the tent. The commotion outside grew louder as she hears it. She grips the fold and rips it wide open, readying herself to charge out of it. She's awestruck with what she witnessed. Meshed within a valley of Imperial tents, a cluster of Imperials and her clansmen were gathered around a dining table. An Imperial Clydesdale horseman was in a strenuous arm wrestling match with a female Shaskaran capybara. Everyone in attendance was hooting and howling at the combatants, all while mingling, drinking, and laughing with one another. They didn't even seem to notice their leader's head poking out of the tent. Nadja retreats back and drops the window flap. She takes a minute to process everything she saw and everything she thought she knew. Was the entire experience really just a dream this whole time? Or better yet, what were the gods playing at? Nadja pondered. In the past, Nadja had endured vivid dreams of battles new and old, but never had they been so prominent in her misery, let alone feel so real. She rubs her eyes roughly until they start to sting from the pressure. Sure enough, she felt pain. Pain which starts to finally catch up with her mind. She feels a twinge of itchy pain blister all across her body. She groans and wallows down to her knees. Her legs felt heavy and ready to cramp up any second. Her eyes wander curiously around her bandaged body, trying to make sense of her condition. She was stitched up and patched all over from head to toe. A vision of her sword wound flashes in her mind. She knelt down to examine it, but didn't find any markings of a stab wound. Several lines of stitches were drawn across her midsection from where Solaire had swiped at her in their duel. Solaire left his mark on her pretty well, she admitted to herself. His claws were sharp as his tongue, it seemed. She could only imagine what his condition was, on par with hers. She clasps her paw around the neck of the water pitcher and takes another swig from it. She stares off into the hole she tore in the tent, scattering her attention everywhere she spies on the outside world. A feeling of alienation strikes her whilst observing the clashing cultures mingling together. It was intriguing, to say the least. She inhales the last of the chilling water. It felt heavenly, trickling down her parched throat, well deserving of a relieving sigh. Nadja chuckles softly to herself, still lost in thought. Finally awake, it sounds like. Nadja's ears perk up. She twirls her head around to the source of the voice. Across the other end of the tent, a curtain was dividing the rest of the room from her. She hesitantly grips hold of the divider and swats it open. And there he is. All propped up and... fuck you. Just when Nadja thought this day couldn't get any more bizarre, in front of her laid Solaire, covered from neck to toe in a full-body cast. Lost in disbelief, she was caught off guard as the wounded Emperor shoots her a sly, devilish grin. Although his face was littered with bruises and scars from the fight, he still manages to come off dashing as before. Admittedly, it was comforting to see him smile, she thought. Nadja finds herself struggling to comprehend the situation she was in now. She was both enthralled but mournful to see Solaire. The bloody viscera of her nightmares still plague her with a multitude of images scarring her mind. The ghastly sight of Solaire's headless body flashed before her eyes, and now seeing him as a head shrouded in white began to fracture her sanity. For the first time in her life, after a battle to the death, she felt terribly ashamed of what she had done to her adversary.
Sleep well, my dear. Did you have enough to eat? I have more on my table if you're still hungry.
Nadja blinks and snaps her mental focus back on Solaire. He motions his head to this table, which is lined with various fruits, pastries, and utensils. Nadja darts her eyes around the room while desperately trying to make sense of what was going on, her face dripping with confusion. She narrows her eyes with suspicion engraved across her face. She takes up Solaire's offer and hobbles over to the table. Thanks. Nadja picks around a bowl of fruit before pulling out a red apple by its stem. How long have I been out?
Oh, a few days. Give or take 2 or 3.
Nadja was in the midst of munching on her apple when she hears the news. She chokes on her apple, grunting and gasping harshly on chunks of apple. Okay, I get it. She's eating an apple. Her eyes sink with deep, hollow bags forming from her gaze. The 3 days! Solaire snickers lightly at her expense, yet offers a comforting tone to her shock.
I'm not surprised it took you this long, to be honest. And neither should you. That little skirmish of ours left a toll on both of us. I'm still feeling that devastating kick to my gut you left me. Ha!
Having collected herself once more, Nadja bitterly takes a bite out of her apple. Her expression becomes shaded with skepticism. It was coming off too friendly for comfort, especially for someone whom was stuck in a body cast for 3 days. She was curious as to how far he'd keep up appearances with her. She did what she had to and played along with a coy smirk. I'm not surprised. At least for your condition, anyway. Most of those blows were meant to kill you, after all. Can't argue with the results, though. Nadja bites a large chunk of apple and proceeds to speak with her mouth full.
Gotta admit, though, for a highborn, you got some balls surviving and having the gall to
share a medic tent with me of all people. Solaire gives her a gleeful chuckle whilst adjusting his cast.
It felt fitting to do so.
His cheerful smile slowly fades away as his attention is drawn back into the past, back to the end of their fight. A deafening roar of Imperials and Shaskarns electrified the air after both their leaders had fallen. Everyone huddled over to them, ready to erupt into a riot if either side tried to do harm to either of them. Solaire's vision was blurred and swirled uncontrollably, but he still remained conscious long enough to grip onto one of his shoulders and muttered out orders.
After the fight, everyone was in an uproar of what to do next. Fortunately, I came to right away and made sure to settle everything accordingly. As long as your men behave, you are our honored guests here.
Honored guest, you say? She finishes off her apple. Jesus, she's been eating this apple for like a fucking year now. And flicks the core between Solaire's encased legs. Best to be careful who you try to honor. Flattery can only get you so far with us.
You find my hospitality threatening?
Only if you're as cocky as the last lord who tried to honor us. Fucker tried to set up an arranged marriage with my Nadja's focus had spaced out drastically. Her eyes dart around, depraved of sanity. Solaire frowns with concern.
Nadja!
Nadja slams her palm onto his chest, cast-covered chest. The force of her palm nearly knocks the wind out of the Emperor. His claws start to grind across the surface of the cast. Nadja's gaze zeroed into Solaire's. Her pupils trembled with renewed rage, fueled by hysteria. Every passing sentence, her claws sunk deeper into his cast. There was a little girl amongst my clan watching us. Where is she? Where's my oh my god, Magina. I forgot about Magina. Migna, Migina. I forgot what the proper pronunciation was because it's been that long since I played this.
Magina.
Solaire grunts with a light snarl to her sudden assault. However, he remains unfazed by her intimidating outroar.
Your daughter is fine.
Ooh, voice crack. He swerves his head to direct her attention to a window flap.
She's with your wolf companion, last I checked. I'm letting us rest at my tent, if that's all right with you.
Nadja opens the flap and discovers a hillside leading to Solaire's tent. A sigh of relief flows out of her at the sight of Magina atop the hill with Zuta. Nadja's lips began quivering with a smile at the sight of a precious baby girl toying with a telescope. Seeing her daughter's lively smile melts away the petrified chill of her nightmare. Her world felt whole once more. A world where she could be at ease, knowing Magina was safe.
She's definitely been a feisty one. My lieutenant made mention she swindled a dagger off of him the other day. I take it she gets that from her father's side.
Nadja slowly closes the flap whilst Solaire spoke. His intervention of words grinds her blissful moment to a halt, spoiling her moment. In hindsight, he was still her enemy, and she couldn't afford to get caught up in pleasantries, not so long as this war reigned on. Good. That's good. I'm glad to hear everyone's doing well. I suppose a thank you is in order. Solaire shakes his head with a soft smile aimed towards her.
None are needed as of now.
While the sunlight shines through the tent, Solaire takes note at how Nadja's fur glistened. Even her bandages were creased from all of her... Ew!
That said, do you find yourself feeling all right?
Nadja shakes her head with a groggy murr to her voice. As good as any bedridden sob can be, nothing I can't shake off.
That's reassuring, to say the least.
How do you mean?
You were calling out to your daughter rather painfully in your sleep. Are you certain you're okay?
Nadja bites her tongue in response. She wanted to scream in anger for mentioning her nightmares. She wanted to wail in pain with the harmful vision of flooding back. The haunting imagery toiled heavily in her heart and mind, burning this fear of hers into her psyche. Just hearing about her cries for Magina sent chills down her spine. She begrudgingly wanted to lash out at Solaire for rekindling those harmful memories for his own curiosity. She was unable to find it in her to do it, though. Her tired eyes hung over him. All she could see was this headless corpse in his stead. Yeah, I'm fine. Solaire blinks and sighs raggedly.
Well, just to let you know, I have special medics that handle my soldiers whenever they have terrible dreams after a battle. They do wonders, I've been told.
I'm fine. A low thunderous growl permeates out of the lioness' chest. Taken aback by the growl, Solaire nods solemnly to her outburst.
Very well, very well.
He flicks his head to the side, guiding her attention elsewhere from the conversation.
Pour yourself a drink at least. You look as if you're about to pass out.
Well, I think I will, thank you very much. Special... Wow, this does terrible things to the green screen. Nadja looks to his bedside table where an ornate pitcher and goblet were placed. She bites her lip, not realizing just how dry they felt. Having been asleep for so long left her body aching for moisture. Moisture. She takes her time to center herself, body and mind, before pulling the pitcher of red liquid off of Solaire's serving table. She brings the pitcher to her lips, but halts. Solaire was staring at her the whole time, she realizes. She takes a sniff of it. She looks to Solaire with more confused expression. Grape juice? An abstracted look hung from Solaire's face, seeing his choice of drink completely normal.
Yes? What, you think we highborns dine on wine all day and night?
Nadja scrunches her face in an oblivious manner, shrugging her arms up in admittance to the thought. He chuckles nonchalantly at her disbelief.
I can get you poison if that's what you were expecting.
Nadja's face hardens with a beastly leer beating down at the chuckling emperor. Are you on special medicine right now? The emperor chuckles more and shakes his head, which leaves Nadja flustered slightly. You are, aren't you? You being drugged is the only reason you'd take this situation lightly.
Oh, no. No, far from that, my dear. It's simply amusing seeing someone be baffled by grape juice is all.
Nadja blinks and stares blankly at his remark, unsure how to take it. She couldn't help but feel bitter now at his sense of humor, as if she was a joke to him now. This she couldn't allow. Her lips curl into a crude smile and banters along with him. I suppose you're right. You'd have to be the stupidest highborn ever to try and kill me now. I could rip you to shreds if you tried poisoning me now. She throws him a weak smile before peering into the pitcher of juice. Her own reddened reflection stares back. Curiosity got the better of her as she ponders why he didn't kill her when the opportunity came. Why you didn't, though? Why risk a gamble of letting the beastly savage recover when you could have easily killed them? Nadja rests herself up against the serving table and begins chugging the pitcher. The Emperor gawks at the rate Nadja drowns herself in juice.
Well,
Bleh! Slayer pauses at the lioness's bellowed roar. Nadja shoots him a deviously smug grin. She gleefully peers down at him, curious to see what would throw him off tempo. Fuck. What can I say to you other than you've proven to possess great admiration for the people you're willing to fight for? And who am I to cast such a noble warrior like you aside? Nadja takes an orange, from a serving dish and bites into it while Solaire spoke. She knew where his monologue was going. She'd heard this kind of lecture far too often. She shrugs his bravado-fueled words off and keeps her attention on peeling the orange. And the fact that my tribe can easily overpower your camp isn't part of that? Nadja rips through the orange hide and flings the skin at the Emperor's face in another attempt to see just how far she could get under his skin. Solaire scrunches his nose after the peel lands on his snoot. He huffs it off and keeps his cocky smirk towards Nadja before shrugging not innocently to her. Well, everyone seems to be getting along. Why break up a good thing? 'Cause we're enemies? She begins to slowly pace around the foot of his bed, ripping off tinier chunks of orange skins off, and flipping them at the Emperor's face amidst the carefree notions. 'Cause my allies will stop at nothing till they've crushed your oppressive empire. She flicks another orange skin at his face. 'Cause I want to take your head as a trophy. Honestly, does none of this speak volume to your pompous worldview? Nadja steps closer to Solaire's bed, grazing her talons into the orange. She hovers her face over his, while a low rumble bellows from her chest. Look me in the eyes, your highness, and tell me if I'm overthinking this. The cockiness of his expression slowly fades away. Thought so. You have to be desperate or something to try and seduce my allegiance with mere pleasantries. Nadja extends a sharp talon in front of Solaire's face. She hooks her claw into an orange wedge and chews it in front of him, her eyes heavily glued to his unfazed stare. How many lives do you think my side has taken from yours anyway? Let alone all the families you robbed from us over the years. Solaire readies himself to speak, but is cut off, as Nadja shoves an orange wedge into his maw. His words are muffled as she keeps her fingers in his mouth, all while hopping on top of him. Oh my. He winces as she sits upright over his castle match. Her tone becomes soothingly cold to the wounded Emperor. She didn't have time for him to live his fantasy. It was time to face the chilling reality they've created. All of those lives, taken in the name of the few. For highborns who won't bother knowing the names of every man, woman, and daughter and son who fight in their wars. Nadja creeps her fist into a ball within Solaire's jaw and wedges it open with ease. Solaire didn't put up a fight or try to resist, not even when she starts to pull at his tongue. Do you honestly think some juice will wash away the blood and sorrow my people endured from people like you? A hungry snarl quivers over Nadja's lips as she comes closer to the defenseless Emperor. Pulling his tongue out, her tail starts to sway anxiously as she toyed with her food. A devilish grin brews over Nadja's lips as she dons her iconic sadistic glare. I mean, really, here I am, with the highest of them all, broken and defenseless, whose death will certainly bring this sickly war to an end. Fate has certainly made a very tempting offer here for me, and who's to say I shouldn't pounce on it? My tribe would certainly relish in the vast retributions this war's end would bring. Nadja grudgingly bears her fangs out over Solaire as she pulls on his tongue. The Emperor's gaze remains hard and steady to her advancements, the same stoic look she couldn't help but respect on the battlefield. Oh, okay. Is that where this is going? Hello? She shits. Oh my god, that's not where I thought this was going. She sits straight back up and creaks out a small smile at him before letting go of his tongue. But for now, curiosity stays my hand. She starts to brush her paw across his mane, all while wiping his drool off her fingers, through the playful petting. I'm quite eager to know your grand plan was keeping me alive. The great lioness cackles deeply whilst impaling an orange wedge with a talon and slipping it between her lips. Her tantalizing glare never leaves Solaire's. The Emperor begins to chew on the wedge Nadja left in his maw. His calm, hardened tone slowly melts as he chuckles lightly before shooting an orange seed at her cheek. Nothing gets past you, my dear. You're as cunning as you are barbaric in a fight. There's no doubt towards that. Nadja mockingly flutters her eyes to him. You flatter me, your highness. His hearty smile softens before staring off. Yes, well, Nadja, if there is one thing in life I want, it's for this accursed war to end. And I have been more than ready to do what it takes to do so. The Emperor briefly pauses, quieting the room with only the hammering taps Nadja made with her talons against his chest. I've laid waste to many in this war. Pirates, warlords, thieves, any regiment that dared to get in my way. Even to my own kin. A glassy stare hangs from his eyes while recollecting. I've turned their very names into prime examples of what happens when you defy the Valar's will. Nadja casually suckles on an orange wedge while listening to Solaire's petty threats. Threats that echoed her people's own methods fairly well, she muses. I never felt remorse for them. Not one. Or on the grounds of what I did to them. This is merely a time of gain for people like them. Oppressive, maybe. But this world possessed a higher quality of respect for the law of the land before that accursed mountain blew. Fire may have consumed the hearts and minds of the common folk, even turning them into husks of their former selves, but, at their core, we know, their souls are simply burnt out from all of the turmoil. Everyone would rather go for the easiest route for a better life rather than be the hand that lays the foundation for a better tomorrow. But you, on the other hand, you made your actions quite clear on what you're fighting for. When we fought, Nadja, there was a brief moment in the back of my mind saying, I might lose today. I could lose everything this instant. Was that during that time I held you in a headlock, or when I was lassoing you with your own tail? No. Gods, no. It was more than just barbaric strength that kept you going. That much I could tell. Solaire churns his neck? God damn, within the cast, producing muffled cracks. Even when my breath was wavering and my blood near depleted, I refused to find it within myself to falter. Not when my people are still in chains. Not when I'm so damn near to closing the book on this war. Slayer sighs, and then continues. But every so often, I would look upon the crowd in remembrance of what I'm fighting for, and then I'd look and find your child within yours. That's when I realized I might lose. Nadja arches a brow at his comments. A barbaric savage waging war on an empire, we'd label that person insane. A barbaric mother, on the other hand. I'd gamble you'd crush any army that threatens your world, wouldn't you? I can't say you're wrong on that. A knowing smile edges its way from the corner of her lip. Am I to understand from this that the glorious Lion Emperor is afraid of a mother's scorn?
I'm shaking in my cast as we speak.
Nadja snickers lightly. She couldn't fathom the level of buffoonery this dignified highborn was displaying. She recalls all the tedious moments throughout the war she had suffered through, all the endless drawl every highborn entitled would spew, all the cowardice hidden in their speeches, all those heated moments where she just wanted to strangle them all with her bare hands. They were non-existent here. To her surprise, she actually found comfort within the moments of solace. She couldn't remember the last time she could feel so relaxed around another male, let alone other than Magina's father, that is. She started to find many comparisons of the two now between him and Solaire. Brash, bold, stoic, knowing his place when facing a mother. In their duel, she took all of her anger, all of her anguish she bore from the highborns and funneled it into all in her assault at Solaire. Now that the heat of the event settled, she couldn't find that same driving force anymore. If anything, recounting the brawl felt like an honorable spar-off with a good friend. She respected him more than anything. Pity. Had I not known any better, I would suspect some scarring in you from how well you put up a fight. Hell, we also like to make examples out of the people who wronged us. Even made a competition out of it. That all said, it really speaks volumes now, knowing you're deathly afraid of a mother's scorn. Perhaps I should go assemble the matriarchs of my clans with this in mind.
What a cruel fate to sentence me to. Perhaps we can come to an arrangement to prevent such things. Nadja scoffs before leaning into him. Her claws drift up across his casted frame, and she sinks them into his cast shoulders. A light purr emitted from her lips near his ear. I'm listening. She wasn't sure what to make of all this. Normally a highborn would be flustered with the amount of bantering that was going on. It became rather fun, to say the least, as to what might come out of this next. Nadja, my dear, will you do me the honor of scratching my nose for me? It's been absolute torture for me these past few minutes.
Nadja slowly realigns herself back up over Solaire, delivering a dead stare at his abrupt request. She couldn't find the strength to hold her glare over him whilst he beams a bashful smile up to her. Oh, God. She bit back a laugh while encompassing a smile. She leans in to scratch his nose. How does that feel? The Emperor bellows out a blissful groan.
Oh, wonderful. Gosh, that's wonderful.
Nadja's claws lightly graze over Solaire's muzzle and toys with his whiskers. And what about this?
The best deal I have ever made.
Nadja chuckles lightly while scratching Solaire. His composed nature had unraveled into a cub-like demeanor at this point. It was rather adoring, to say the least. She reminds herself, however, he is still a highborn. She couldn't let him enjoy every moment in life, no matter how alluring he might be. An innocent smile plasters over her face. Her tantalizing fingers graze down and pinch his nose and starts to suffocate him, forcing the Emperor to breathe through his mouth. You are by far the most bizarre highborn I have ever met. Solaire chuckles whilst breathing out his words. Oh.
Not as...
Okay. I've never tried doing that voice while my nose was pinched.
Not as idiotic as the ones your tribe is allied to, no?
Allied. I didn't even say allied right. Ugh. A bitter smirk cracks over her lips. She couldn't help but nod at his comment before letting go of his nose. Seems I'm surrounded by glorified idiots these days. At least you're tolerable. The Lion Emperor smirks and shakes his head lightly and gets free of her grip. He shoots her an admirable look.
Pity your clan wasn't on our side during the cataclysm. You would only have to deal with me instead. Ha!
I wouldn't mind that, actually. The more she dwells on it, the more she feels akin to this man more than any other. Although fate divided them from the start of the war, his determination in a fight proved how well their values coincide. Had the Locup Alliance not came to her first and coaxed her allegiance to them, could her clan have found refuge under the Empire? At least whenever you spout about your special bloodline, at least know you're not talking from your ass.
What can I say? My bloodline does come from greatness.
Oh, fuck you. Blood is blood, no matter what the fuck. Nadja cackles whilst running her claws up from Solaire's cast. She taps his nose. Oh, yes. That very same bloodline that got its ass beaten and reduced to a full-body cast. The world will know of your grand legacy, no questioning that. Slayer chuckles while lifting his head from the cast.
As it should, naturally.
You ask for the world at this point, Your Highness. What? She runs her fingers down to his chin, yanking and pulling it back down by the scruff of his chin. That said, it's begging to be asked as well, but why in the world would I even begin to follow a dainty bone ruler like you? Sharskarans only follow the strongest. You're far weaker now than ever, it seems.
What makes you think I broke anything? I just enjoy being put in a cast after battle is all. Feels so nice and snuggly.
Solaire murs as he nestles his head deeper into his cast. He chuckles at Nadja's bewildered expression. That's a classic wrestling move, man. The heel being bad, it comes out, beats the shit out of the good guy. Good guy comes back a couple weeks later. He's got a cast on. He's got a crutch. He's like, I'm feeling terrible now, but by God, when I come back and I'm in full health, I'm going to kick his ass. And the bad guy comes out to taunt him like, ha, you look like a cripple. I fucked you up. You can't beat me. Look what I did to you. And the good guy's like, oh, really? And then he takes the cast off and he wields the crutch and whoops the fuck out of the bad guy because he was fine the whole time. Jesus Christ. Nadja covers her face, laughing and realizing just how much of a fool the Emperor was. She couldn't decide whether to feel amused or ashamed after witnessing the driving force of the Empire. The very same man that her people have been in conflict with for fuck! The very same man that her people have been in conflict with for years. He was nothing she expected him to be, but perhaps more than she'd hoped. She leans forward and pulls on his mane. Her talons brush the rims of his cast around his neck. A gleeful taunt cackles from her lips. Oh, is that so? It'd be a shame to take your head now if you still have some fight in you. Soft purr rumbles from Solaire, audible from the echoing cast.
Still fixated on taking my head, aren't you?
Stop! Nadja lightly grips her paws around the base of Solaire's head and rubs it teasingly. Her claws tenderly dance across his fur. Gotta end this war one way or another, no? What else am I to get out of this skirmish of ours? Solaire holds back his purring to no avail. He casually shrugs at her comment with a devious smirk, hooking his lips.
I could always give you head instead, if you like.
That's not even... Jesus. Nadja's eyes light up with a faint blush over her cheeks at the unexpected offer. A devilish smile carves across her maw as she leans in closer. Her claws start grazing across his cast. Shit. Tempting. I haven't had anything like that since this war started. She begins to press her weight firmly down on him. She finds herself now more invested in the Emperor's words than ever before. You offer all your allies deals like these? A rugged grin accommodates his collective gaze up to her. What does that mean?
Only if it's consensual. Especially to those I know who can handle me.
Nadja fights desperately against the urge to laugh at him. What's the death count on that, then, if I ask? Solaire gleams up to her with a sly grin while eyeing at how anxious Nadja started to get.
I can't really say. This war's been keeping me busy that I could never find the right type of woman.
Nadja's ears perk up as she mockily sympathized with him. Really? All these years and you haven't laid with a mate? I would have thought spreading your seed was all you cock-brained highborns ever thought about. Nadja teasingly probes Solaire's face with her paws, fluffing his mane and fiddling with his whiskers at his expense. Solaire joins her mockery of him by acting pitiful.
I know. I'm a terrible disgrace to the hierarchy. Everyone I've met is too young, too old, or just taken. I suppose finding love on the battlefield is merely a fairy tale.
Solaire dramatically bats his head away with a mournful sigh. Nadja's lips pull into a pitiful smile. She grips the Emperor by the scruff of his chin and brings his gaze to hers. Oh, what a terrible fate for a highborn. If only there was some way I could help with that. Both lions gaze into one another's eyes, inching themselves closer and closer. Nadja steals a titillating lick across Solaire's muzzle. She quickly snaps back up, leaving the Emperor red in the cheeks. Her face curls into a gleeful grin, ravishing at his reaction to all of this. She continues to mock him with a pity-filled expression hung on her face. Such a shame I broke every bone in your fragile, high-born body. I could have tended to them much better. Nadja's claws graze across Solaire's cast. The vibrations alone felt as though she was hitting every splendid spot that needed to scratch to every itch. What the fuck? Solaire regains his calm smile while Nadja toys with him.
If only.
Both lions smiled towards one another. A soft hemorrhaging thud danced within the lioness's chest. Never in her life did she ever feel this sensation flood within her, let alone send her heart racing. She feels exposed, and yet blissful to be in this moment, to finally feels as if she could let go of her fears and resentment. Something about this lion made her happy. The tender silence begins to shatter as Nadja notice a sudden rumble beneath her. Oh! Da! Damn, dude! Instantaneously, the Emperor's cast explodes into pieces. His powerful biceps flex within the explosion. Nadja gawks in confused excitement as his arms and legs latch around her and he tumbles off the bed and tumbles her off the bed with him. Nadja grips hold of the bed sheets only to fling herself back to Solaire, crying out in a cacophony of giggles and moans. And that's the to-be-continued fucker, isn't it? Oh, of course it is. Feckery, you fecker. And that is the latest update to the Regal Tales early alpha build. Foreplay! Oh, what a sight. Well, certainly is a lighter note to end off of than the last fucking episode, to say the least. Well, until then, until next time, ladies and gentlemen, whenever the fuck that is, hopefully, not before too much longer, but, yeah, fun. If you want to play this game for yourself, the link to the game is in the description, along with my links to Patreon, YouTube memberships, any other ways you'd like to support me or check me out on various other platforms. I'm trying to do the YouTuber thing where I say all the things at the end. I'm not good at it, and I don't like doing it. Hopefully I get better at it later on down the line. I make dumb TikToks in my bathroom sometimes, if that's at all enticing to you. But anyway, thank you all very much for watching this episode of Regal Tales, and until next time, I've been the Trained Unprofessional, and you're not. Stay safe, everyone.